walks around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you feel me? That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you hear me?
Hello, hello. Oh, it's not green.
It's red. Tell us.
Hello, everybody. It's your girl Tasha, known to the world as Latasha Carpenter. But everybody calls me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, it's like you are hanging with your girl. And today, I have the courthouse hanging with me. Hey! Over here in the middle, we have, introduce yourself, ma'am, and tell them what you're running for.
Sure. I'm Aisha Braveboy. I'm a former state delegate, and I'm running for state's attorney for Prince George's County.
Woo!
My name is Mahasin Amin. I'm a candidate for the Clerk of Circuit Court for Prince George's County.
Hey, all right. So, yes, we have some powerful ladies sitting here today hanging with me. As an honor, guys, I thank you for coming on today. As you guys know, my platform is about making sure that we share information with people that help people in all realms of their life. So, of course, knowing what's going on in your community is very, very important. Just to start thinking about the fact that we know that we have the primary elections are coming up here, June 26th.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. And as a union vice president, I always hear people talking about voting is not important. You know, it's not important, especially when it's a midterm election, or especially when it's dealing with local stuff.
Well, I would just say ask the people of Virginia.
Exactly.
You know, their state legislature on the House side turned because of one vote in the amongst the voters. And as a result of essentially a tied vote, which there was a whole bunch of back and forth over that, the rule was that you basically pull a name out of the hat.
They use a film canister to shake them up and drop their names out.
And the person who was selected happened to be Republican, and so that the legislature on the House side remained majority Republican, but had it flipped the other way, it would have been a majority Democratic legislature. So every vote counts. Every single vote counts.
Every vote counts. There's no excuses, guys, because we have early voting that goes on for 8 days.
Exactly.
We got the day of the election that goes on for 1 day. I figured out it's like 96 hours you have to vote. There's no excuse for you not to vote. But to those people that say that it's not important, especially when it comes to local positions, can y'all please explain what's important about the state's attorney and what's important about the clerk of the circuit court?
Well, the state's attorney really sets the tone for justice in the county. It also sets the tone for safety, public safety. It is the top law enforcement office, and so it affects really your daily life. You know, we have a wonderful county, but we have some crime problems. We lead the region in auto theft. We have a number of property crimes, including breaking and enterings. And so there are a lot of issues that you need a strong, focused state's attorney to deal with. And so voting for someone who reflects your values is so critically important.
That is correct.
Did you hear that? And now when it comes to the clerk of the circuit court, what is important about the clerk of the circuit court?
The Clerk of the Circuit Court is like the heart of the courthouse. Everything, every single piece of paper that comes to that courthouse goes through the clerk's office. They are the record keepers for the courthouse. So when the clerk's office doesn't function, then the courthouse doesn't function. So you need to make sure that you have someone in that office who understands the law, who understands people, who understands efficiency and reliability. So that's why it's important. The clerk of the circuit court. People don't really understand what it is, so they don't vote for it. They don't think it's important, but it's on the ballot, and it's a very important position to have.
I know. I learned one thing about the whole fact that you're the reason for so many marriages in the world.
Oh, that is
right.
correct.
That's the only thing that people kind of know, that you're the reason for so many marriages in the world.
That is correct. When you go and apply for your marriage license, that's the clerk's office. When you want to go ahead and file your deed of that house that you just purchased, that is the clerk's office. When you want to get a divorce, when you need that child support, that's the clerk's office.
Can you give me some more child support? 'Cause I I need some more. It's about to end with Trinity graduated in June. Can I bump it up a couple of hundred for the last couple of months? But that's okay. Let me behave. I'm going to try to behave. Hey, Summer, thank you for sharing. Hey, Denise, thank you for sharing. Everybody, please share and invite your people on the call. And also remember, too, that you have an opportunity. If you have any questions for these ladies, you can call in on 301-429-9247 as well. So, before, a lot of times when people vote for people, they want to know about what is your qualifications. But I want to know something before that, before we get to qualifications. In the business world, in the entrepreneurship world, entrepreneurship world, it's that mint candy, guys. So in that world, we talk about the why. We talk about what hurts you. It's your reason behind having your business. So before I know about your qualifications, because people can have qualifications all over the place, but that's not enough for me. I want to know from each one of you ladies, what is your why and the reason why you choose or you believe that you are the person for the state's attorney. Qualifications we'll talk about later.
Okay.
But what's in here? What's the heartbeat behind Aisha? What's the heartbeat behind Mahasin?
You know, I grew up in Prince George's County, and it is my life. I mean, I don't know anything really other than Prince George's. I mean, I was born in Washington, D.C., but I left there when I was about 5 years old. So I grew up in the public school systems here in the county. When I was young, I used to ride my bike from my home to the park like every single day during the summer.
How long ago was that?
That was a few years ago. No, I'm proud of all my years. I'm good. But yeah, and I used to do that. But what I recognize now is that in so many of our neighborhoods, kids can't ride their bikes to the park. Either their parents are afraid of what might happen to them, or the parks are just not a safe place. And I don't think that's good enough for the people of Prince George's County. We pay a whole lot in taxes, that is for sure.
Absolutely.
And so we deserve good, safe communities. My grandmother growing up, she was sort of my primary caregiver during the day because my parents worked, and she was retired. And she could sit outside, go for a walk, do whatever she wanted to do. And I've met so many seniors who don't feel like they can go outside and enjoy their twilight years. And I think that's a shame. And so as the top law enforcement officer, my job is to make people feel safe, to let them know that every community matters to me. Their lives matter. Their happiness matters. And so I think I have the heart beat of this county, having been here for so many years.
Many
But
years.
not only that, but serving it. I served for 8 years as delegate, and even before that, I worked in local government. And I literally walked communities with our police officers, with residents, just talking about what are the hot spots, where are the areas of concern. And we were able to address those areas. And I'll just give you one example. Right across the street from the police headquarters in Palmer Park, there is a senior building, apartment building for seniors. And I believe it's called Victory Apartments. And for many years, the seniors there could not enjoy their front yard because there was an open-air drug market operating right across. But it was hidden by some trees. So when you would walk under the trees, you would see essentially a makeshift couch, makeshift chairs.
They made a whole home.
They made a little home under there,
Okay.
And they were, so you couldn't see them unless you went inside there. But those trees shaded them from view. But it scared the seniors because they knew that they were there selling drugs, and so they couldn't walk outside. They didn't feel comfortable. So I worked with then District 3 Commander Marcus Summers and other members of the administration and like Department of Public Works and everyone who's responsible for maybe cutting trees and stuff like that. We were able to cut back those trees. We were able to repurpose the bark. I am an environmentalist. I don't believe in just cutting trees just for the sake of cutting trees. However, I do believe that safety is extremely important. And the simple act of cutting back those trees, repurposing the bark, we use the bark to, create a walk path, that gave life to those seniors. They were able to come outside and enjoy themselves because no longer could that activity be done in the dark. And so we have to always look for creative ways to make sure that our people are safe. That is my commitment. And I think that I'm the kind of person who will just figure out how to get it done.
Okay, even if you got to evict some people. That's all right. Evict people for safety is all right in that case. So, Mahasin?
Well, I'm born and raised in Prince George's County, product of the public school system, Thomas G. Pullen Elementary and Middle School.
Creative arts.
Creative arts, yes. My mom stood in line to get my sisters in, and I was able to get grandfathered in along that, so that was great. And then I went to Suitland High School, where I was majored in theater. So I eat, sleep, and breathe Prince George's County. I grew up in that courthouse because my father was a practicing attorney, so I was there when we didn't have school. I was in the courthouse with my dad. And when I became a practicing attorney and I started to be in the courthouse, I saw how much work the clerk had to do. I mean, I'm telling you, as a practicing family law attorney, that's over 50% of the courthouse's cases.
Wow.
And the files of our cases can be like thick volumes.
Anything like my divorce folder, I know it can be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's just you. Just imagine thousands and thousands of people over and over again. And so being in the courthouse is home to me. And like I said before, I love people. I love to serve. And I figure if I can take all of my responsibilities and all my experiences and put them together in one position, the clerk of the circuit court it's my name. I can't wait for it. I'm so excited for it.
Okay. So tell me that if you do all of that going on, you talking about all of the work that you do for the court, then to be organized is a key thing.
That is true.
And to be organized, I know I gotta have the phone, I gotta have the iPad, I gotta have all kind of technology. So what kind of technology do they have in the clerk's office to assist you with that job?
We are getting it. Currently,
tell me about that.
Currently, Maryland has a case filing system, and it is currently rolling in some of the other counties. It's been implemented in the smaller counties. Prince George's County is going to get known as MDAT, which is like online case filing. Mm-hmm. So Prince George's County is slated to get that 2019-2020. So it's all electronic stuff. So it's no longer paper pushing. Hopefully, where you can just I've used it in Anne Arundel County. I was just in Calvert County this morning. They have it in Calvert County. I was in Annapolis on Friday. They have it there. All they have to do is the judge can just go to your case number, pull it up, and the entire file is right there. So no more searching for files in the courthouse.
All right, now let me see. We have someone was on the phone. It's gone now. Now let's the light. It's not working here. It's okay. We're in the middle of stuff. I'm not going to interrupt your comment for a phone call. Call back, whoever you were. Please call back, okay?
Call back.
All right, call back. We have Keisha Blocker saying this is an awesome panel, and efficiency and reliability is very, very, very important. Also, you have some people that said that they are sharing information, and they're enjoying watching you, young ladies.
Thank you.
We will wait for that call to come back. So with you talked about your passion and stuff, and I think you kind of went into your qualifications with yours. So you talked about your qualifications as well with it too.
Can I mention one thing?
I knew she forgot something. That's why I was pausing.
Well, the thing
That's why I was
did
pausing.
want to mention is that having grown up here, I understand what it's like to be a child in Prince George's County.
Okay.
Now, I was pretty good. Pretty good.
Are you using that loosely?
Well,
with quotes?
All I'm saying is that thank goodness we didn't have cell phone cameras. I'm just playing. I'm just joking. No, I was a good kid. I really didn't do a whole lot wrong. I was pretty much in fear of my parents, and that they would find out, not that they would, spank me or anything like that, but that they would be disappointed. And I never wanted to disappoint my parents. But we have young people growing up in our school system who just are dealing with so many issues. Some of them are homeless. Some of them are dealing with abuse, whether they're witnessing it or they're experiencing it themselves. Many have mental health issues, behavioral health issues that have been undiagnosed, or some of them just not addressed properly. And a lot of these young people are getting into trouble. The reason why I know is because I've been counseled to a juvenile diversionary program for over 14 years. It's the largest one in the county. It's called the Community Public Awareness Council. We've diverted over 4,000 children out of the criminal justice system.
Okay.
But I can tell you the issue that I find, and I think it's an opportunity for us to make a difference, is that we have so much trauma in our communities, and it really affects the way that the children behave and react when they're in the schools. And a lot of those kids were going from school, getting punished, some getting arrested, right into the criminal justice system. So we provided an opportunity for them to be diverted out that system and get the help that they need. It is that type of ingenuity and that way of thinking that I think is important for anyone who is running for state's attorney, because we're not going to solve our crime problem by simply locking people up. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind locking people up who need to be locked up. But what we know is that most people who are locked up end up coming back into our society. And so it's how we treat them that will make a difference in their lives and in the safety of our communities. So it is really important that we understand how mental health and behavioral health play a role in crime.
Okay, all right. You got to have a balance between all of them. We got Miss Aisha Dove-Jones says, hi, great panel. How are you doing?
Hello,
Yeah, she's
Miss
on there
Dove-Jones.
We have Miss Cheryl Brown from Rhode Island saying hello.
Hi, from Rhode
We have
Island.
Mr. Sean Wilson from Prince George's County saying hello. We have Mr. Terrence Coleman from Chicago saying hello. So they're all saying hello
Chi-Town.
there. So guys, will you bringing up schools? I guess that takes my mind to it, and I would like to get both of your opinions on it. Of course, in the media right now, we have a lot going on with concerns about the shootings that are going on in schools. The situation in Florida, losing 17 lives, and the theory that putting guns in the hands of the teachers is the proper thing to do, or the answer. Share with me your opinion about that.
I was just listening to NPR on my way over here, listening to him. I was listening to him talking about what he wanted to do by putting more guns in schools. I don't understand why you want to put more guns in schools when the guns are the issue. I can't imagine just someone just having a rogue moment, and for some reason just happen to get the combination or to wherever that gun is going to be placed. Having access to a gun in school with someone who's not a police officer or a trained public safety member, that's fearful. I mean, what we need to do is we need to deter people from getting these guns, and we just need there's no reason why you have assault rifles. I mean, those things are they're dangerous in itself. A handgun is dangerous.
Absolutely.
But it's easier to get an assault weapon than a handgun. And so there's clearly something wrong in our laws where people who are 18 can buy an assault rifle, a weapon of war. These are weapons of war. But they can't get a handgun until they're 21. So clearly the laws need to change. Obviously, President Trump was wrong when he rolled back the Obama-era rules around mental health and tried to protect people from themselves and protect society by not allowing people who have, this background of mental health issues to have access to guns. I mean, that's just common sense. And this young man, the one in Florida, who committed those atrocities, he had a record of mental health problems, so he should never have been allowed to purchase a gun.
Yes. And this, I mean, it affects our kids so much. Last week I had the teenagers on here, and even though we were talking about, we went from teen dating balance and everything on up to the life what they're subjected to nowadays. And Trinity is really bothered about this whole idea of having these guns. And even though you brought up the point that, it's not in a police officer's hand. Well, look at our police officer, because she came to me with an article this morning. Basically, it said, okay, going to our black community, how many more black children may be shot as a result of this? So people getting killed, no matter what race it is all important. So I'm going to change it to even saying that was the article, but how many innocent citizens,
Yes.
our children in our school, no matter what color you are, black, white, wig, green, yellow, polka dot, how many of our innocent children could be harmed from this if you have trained police officers who are out here taking people's lives? That's just a big concern. And that kind of brings me over to, I think, about a state's attorney type of question there. Bottom line is that Prince George's County, the relationship necessarily between the police officers and the community, it's not where it needs to be. The trust is not there for all police officers. There are some bad apples in the bunch that makes it bad for everyone else. So for you, as a state's attorney, what are you going to do to bridge the gap between the communities and the police officers?
Well, I think that's a very good question and very important. We can't do our jobs, and this is something that I've talked to police officers about. The state's attorney is not going to be effective if the evidence we collect is not collected in the appropriate manner. We're not going to be successful as a law enforcement community if the community who we serve don't want to come to us with information. So the only way, because most crimes are solved, guess what, by people in the community who see something, witnesses.
That's true.
Okay, usually the police don't come upon or happen upon a crime scene. I mean, sometimes that happens, but not usually. And so we have to rely on the citizens who we all serve. And in order for us to have to be effective in our job, we have to, number one, have a good, open, trusting relationship with the community. That has to be number one. And that's certainly a part of my platform is, restoring the public trust and integrity in all parts of our government, whether it's elected leaders or appointed leaders or law enforcement. And so I'm committed to providing constitutional law training to all police officers, not just when they're in the police academy, but once a year. I think that everyone needs a refresher course because the way that the Fourth Amendment is applied changes based on case law. And I think it's always important for the law enforcement community to be up to date on any issue that would affect evidence collection and the way in which we interact with citizens on the street. So it's extremely important that we provide the necessary education and training. But once that is provided, or even now since it's theoretically being provided, I'm going to hold them accountable. And if they violate the public trust, if they abuse their power, they know that there will be consequences. And you know what? The good police officers, they don't mind because they don't want to be seen as bad people. If police officers are more in danger if a community does not trust them than they are if a community does trust them. There are police officers who can walk in what some people might say, quote unquote, like crime infested communities or quote unquote bad communities, which I don't really think there are any real bad communities. I think there are communities that have challenges. But there are officers who can walk through those communities and not feel any sense of danger because they have established a relationship and a rapport with the people in the community. And that is so important. Now, I don't run the police department. I don't pretend to do that.
Right.
But certainly as partners in law enforcement, we need to work together to assure that the public believes in us, believes we care about them, and if someone steps out of line, that we will hold them accountable.
Okay, so if me, your girl
Sure.
Tasha,
Your
regular
girl Tasha.
brain,
Go ahead, Tasha.
holding a person accountable
Yeah.
involves taking people, charging them,
That's
taking them to
correct.
court and stuff.
That's correct.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of other states' attorney out here that want to hold the people, the bad apples, accountable. But the bottom line is that day after day after day after day, we see cases where somehow the juries go and they find the cops that we feel are the bad apples innocent. So, I mean, really, how much power do you have? Because when it's all said and done, it's up to that jury to make that final decision. And that's causing
Right.
a lot of the problems between the community and the police right now, because we don't believe in justice anymore.
Well, I think there's two things I can say about that. Number one, that happens every single day, whether it involves an officer or a civilian. And when you go to court, regardless of how good of a case a state's attorney might put on, the jury may, for whatever their reasons are, find the defendant either they don't believe that the state's attorney's office proved their case, or maybe they believed the defense in that instance. So you can't necessarily determine every outcome. But as state's attorney and as the office is there to seek justice. So if we believe someone has violated the law in any way, our job is to charge them and present a case and attempt to seek what we consider justice. And sometimes justice may mean, you know what, that person may not be found guilty. But I think that the issue around police isn't so much that juries are finding police, at least in Prince George's County, that juries are finding police not to be guilty, because they don't mind finding police officers guilty if they're doing the wrong thing. I mean, I had a case with the firm that I affiliate with, Gabriel Christian and Associates, where we had an officer who actually abused his power, pointed a gun at our client's head, and then lowered it into his mouth, completely unprovoked. Not, yeah, I mean, and his cousin had it on tape. That's how we were able to, get his charges dismissed that were filed against him. But the officer in that case was charged, was prosecuted, and was found guilty, and is now serving time. So that is not
one.
That is, but it's not just one. But the thing is, it's not just one.
But you don't hear about those types of
and
things. All you
maybe
really
that's-
hear about is the ones that's getting off, and it's in the cases where you're looking at the video and you're like, hey, is there any, somebody on here said common sense is obviously not that common. It's common sense that you would think that the person was guilty, but they turned it around. So it's just kind of crazy there. Question over here started over here. We have Sean Michael Wilson would like to know, ladies, and we'll let Mahasin start. How do you ladies plan to stay engaged with the communities once you are elected?
Oh, well, the communities, the voters and the community, they're going to have to, we are accountable to the citizens. As a clerk, I'll be accountable to every single person that has a filing, whether they are in California or whether they are in Prince George's County. I intend to go to these community meetings to explain to people what the clerk does and how especially when MDAT comes through, how to use it, online case filing, the benefits to hiring a lawyer or going to these pro bono outreaches, because the law is complicated. And when you're going into court and you're filing things yourself, you miss out on a lot of stuff. And it happens to clog up the system too, because people are filing a whole lot of unnecessary documents, because a lawyer's expensive. They're expensive.
Who you telling?
And there are resources, I know, but there are resources out there that can help you to get the process started. So it's about sharing the knowledge to other members of the community about in the community as a whole. Things like getting your cases expunged. There are expungement clinics, like literally almost on a daily basis, and people don't know about that. There's voter registration.
With the expungement clinics, is that something that the clerks distribute to the communities for them to know about that? Is that part of your role?
I would see that we could do that. That would be something that would be definitely beneficial to members, to knowing, or to the community members, knowing that they can get their cases expunged, so they can vote, so they can have their records sealed. Not all cases are expungible now. They're working on that. They're working on certain cases or certain issues in Annapolis right now on what can be expungible and what cannot be. But expunging the record, that's part of the clerk's job. Is once that application comes through and you get the go ahead, is to make sure no one can go to the Maryland Judiciary and see that case number anymore.
Oh, no Maryland dot case search. That sounds French. I'm sorry.
It is.
As a union person, when security calls a member into investigation, the first thing I'm doing is going on Maryland case search and say, what can I find? What are they pulling this person in for?
And those records need to be accurate, though. Sometimes those records aren't accurate. Sometimes, I've had cases where people are like, "Yo, I have a warrant out for my arrest, but that's not me." That's not me. They came and picked me up, but that's not me. So it's just it's really important that the records are kept accurately.
Okay. So how are you going to stay engaged with the community?
Well, we have what's called community prosecutors. I think that we have to kind of redeploy them and how we use them, because each part of our community should have a state's attorney who they can go to and learn about what the office is dealing with and understand what types of cases are being prosecuted in their parts of the county. But in addition to that, at least twice a year, having large town halls to talk about all of the work that the office is doing. We'd love to hear from the community also, because it's important, because we are serving them. We want to know that we're doing our jobs effectively, and it's really through their eyes, their lens. They determine how we're doing because we're serving them. And so if people feel that the state's attorney's office isn't being responsive, or if you are a victim or a member of a family of someone who is a victim and you feel like you haven't been kept abreast of what's going on in their case, you feel like, well, no one cares. No one's working for us.
Right.
And so we don't want that feeling. We want people to know that we are working for them, that we care about their case. And as I tell people, crime is the most personal thing that can ever happen to someone. A lot of times you don't remember what happened to you yesterday, but if someone violated you, you will remember for the rest of your life. And so every single case, no matter whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony offense that was committed against that victim, we have to treat our victims with respect. We have to keep them up to date on how their case is doing. Sometimes it moves a little slower than we'd like, but we got to do what we got to do.
A lot of people
but you know what? Communication is important, and we're going to keep those lines of communication open.
Okay. So, another thing that's kind of eye opener. I see Miss Paula Du Bois on here right now, and actually she was caught up in the traffic last week on Indian Highway, associated with the loss of the corporal, who
Corporal Ramsden.
Yes. Unfortunately, he had a neighbor who came to him because she was a victim of domestic violence, and he decided to help her. And in the process, he ended up losing his life. So when I think about that recently, or I go back a couple of years back, when I think about Chloe Davis, who's a 2-year-old, her and her mother, Nashante Davis, were killed because the father didn't want to pay a $600 child support order. Those your fault because you process child support.
Yeah. But I don't enforce it.
So, but when you have those kind of things, domestic violence is really, it's just crazy. I can't say no better word. I don't like to talk about domestic violence month. I always say every day is about domestic violence. So I'm sure that would fall within your realm as a state's attorney. Yep. So what is it that you plan to do with regards to domestic violence? In fact, I had a person told me to ask you a question. They talked about how the young lady that the corporal helped had, there were several peace orders.
Yes.
Can y'all please just answer, what is the true purpose of a peace order or a protective order? Because most people feel there's no peace and people are not protected by that piece of paper.
It is a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper that a judge signs, and it tells somebody what they cannot do. You're not supposed to have guns when you have a protective order. You're supposed to turn those in, but you have to turn those in. The sheriffs or the police officers, they don't come to your house and say, "Give me your guns." So it's important for any victim of domestic violence or anyone who has that paper to realize that they have that paper, and if something were to happen, they need to call the police immediately in order for that to be enforced. Because the only people that can enforce it are public safety officials and a judge.
Agree. And there was a bill that was passed last year in the General Assembly. It's called Amber's Law, and it allows individuals who are victims to request that the abuser have to wear like an ankle monitor. Now, how that's being implemented and the effectiveness of that we'll see over the next year or so.
Okay.
But that was just passed. Now, in every case, I don't know that a judge will order it, but that is at least one tool that victims have at their disposal if they feel very threatened by their abuser.
Okay, so with you, because I'm nosy. Case search, we was talking about it. I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but Mr. Tyndale, name and case search. My brother was in there a whole lot. Okay, he was in there a whole lot with a whole bunch of things, second degree assault, theft, just all kind of stuff, and a lot of things is saying like evidence not convincing, dismissed, and all this other kind of stuff. What as a state's attorney, how do you stop these loopholes from happening? What does that mean?
Some of this may be, and it is true, and it is the most difficult thing that I think prosecutors deal with and families deal with, is that many times the individual who's being abused may go and file the complaint, may seek a protective order, may even file criminal charges. But for whatever their reasons are, and this is just a cycle of being a victim, they don't show up at court, and they are needed. They are necessary in most cases, in almost every case, in order to prosecute effectively an abuser. You need a witness who typically there is only one witness who's the victim. That's typically the case.
And spouses, wives, they can exercise their spousal immunity one time, and that's what happens. They'll choose because you can be compelled to testify, and what will happen is the spouse, we'll just say the spouse, will exercise spousal immunity, and therefore it's a not guilty. That means a spouse will invoke her privilege or their privilege not to testify against the defendant's spouse. So therefore, they get called to the stand, and they'll go through a whole ramble of stuff, and then they'll say, "I choose to exercise my spousal immunity," and then next thing you know, you have a not guilty.
Or they don't tell the truth sometimes. I mean, that's the reality. It's a sad reality.
It is.
But as you know, Tasha, I mean, we've talked about domestic violence in the past. You know, on average, it takes people basically like 7 different times before they actually leave.
Exactly.
And so we have to be patient, even though it's frustrating because we want to put these bad folks away, or we want them to get help. Many of them have been abused too, you know. So you know, but the reality is, we have to create a safe place for victims to get and seek justice.
Exactly.
And we got to keep them motivated because they are valuable. Many of these are people who are raising kids. Their kids rely on them to be there for them. And if they consistently allow themselves to be abused, even if they're there physically, they're not there emotionally and mentally a lot of times for their children. So we have to make sure that they understand that and let them know we are going to fight our hardest to put the bad guy away, but you can't be afraid.
You have to participate.
You got to participate.
Okay, so how do you plan on addressing domestic violence as the next state's attorney?
Well, I intend to continue to talk about it. Like you said, it's not just 1 month, but it's every single month that we have to talk about domestic violence. One of the areas that I find that victims often are concerned about, and the reason why they don't leave in many times is because of housing insecurity. They feel like they don't have any other place to go, especially if they have kids. And so we have to provide more opportunities for families to be unified, to stay together, the non-offending parent and the children to stay together in housing that is that is quality housing. And so what I intend to do is work with our apartment building community as well as our real estate community to look at ways to partner with some of these vacant units so that we can provide transitional housing for victims so that they can get themselves together. A lot of them, they need job training, They just need a chance to breathe, and that will give them that opportunity while they are, to live while they're trying to find a way to make a living for themselves and for their children. That is critically important because you can't tell someone to leave and then not have a place for them to go. And so that's one of the, even though that's not core function, let's say, of the state's attorney's office to provide housing, when I know that those individuals who I want to protect, if I know I can say to them, we have opportunities for you to be in safe housing, safe quality housing where you can be with your kids, I think I have a greater chance of them coming and showing up when we're prosecuting their abusers.
Okay. So you guys kind of told me why you think that you're qualified for the position that you're running with. Now you decided to come on this show together. Okay. So I just assumed.
I thought you made us come on.
I got an invitation.
Y'all decided to come on this show together because I'm going to tell you, I invited someone else to also be on the show, and they were saying that because they didn't have the same, that you supported a different candidate for that particular position of that person running for, that they didn't think that was the right thing to do. So I assume that you guys coming on the show together means that y'all must gel in some kind of way, or you might have some like views. So I like to hear from each of you, why do you feel that the other person is the right person for the position that they're running for?
Wow. Okay, I'll go first.
I gotta thank the Lord hard. I'm messing with you, Mahasin.
Okay.
I'm messing with
Oh,
you.
wait a minute. Hold on. Before we start that, we have one question. I am not going to try to say your name. I'm sorry. Sabah El Amin, maybe. Hello from Los Angeles. How do you feel about the insurgence of women running for office? Do you think it's a direct reflection of the political times that we are in?
Of course. I think it started a few days after the election with the Women's March, encouraging people to run, even if they didn't think that they can get in. Just hearing our voices. And if Alabama didn't tell you that women are ready for a change and get things right, we're in the moment. And this is a very exciting time for us as women, and I'm blessed to be a part of this movement because our voices we're loud and clear. I believe.
I agree. We are at the table, and we're now setting the table. And that's not to exclude men from that table because all of us need to work together. But I think because women have been excluded from certain types of leadership roles in the past, that it's so encouraging to see so many women, and then so many young women. Now, I don't include myself into that category because I'm comfortably middle-aged and I don't mind that. But it's great to see so many young women, even here in Prince George's County, women like Mahasin and others who are saying, you know what? This is my time. You don't have to tell me when my time is. Now is the time. This is the office. I'm going to run like crazy and I'm going to win.
All right now.
I agree.
Nothing wrong with that.
Wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to let y'all go ahead and ask your questions about each other. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't mess up your name. I was praying I don't want to mess up nobody's name. Because let me tell you, I was dating this young man. I'm going to digress for a minute. I was dating this young man, and he bought me some roses and a card to my job. I was about 17 years old. We had been dating for about 3 or 4 months. And he spelled my name Latasha.
Ooh.
And that was the end of the relationship. Anyway. Jenny Harpo says, you ladies make me so proud. Much love from Denver.
What's up, Denver?
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let y'all talk about, because after that, with Los Angeles bringing up the whole women's thing, that makes me think about the Me Too movement. But I'm not going to let you off the hook with...
Why am I supporting Aisha?
Oh, why you don't? Because she was late?
Oh.
Okay, I was on time for the show, but I was late.
She didn't get that text. She didn't clearly read that text. I'll tell you that. I've known Aisha like right after I graduated law school in 2009, and she took me on as a literally like as a big sister. I mean, she introduced me to people that I still am in communications with today. If Aisha says she's going to do something, she's going to do it. She's very reliable. And it's not just about getting into a position to get a paycheck. She really does care. She will take on the world if she has to.
Y'all get paid for that?
No,
Oh, never mind.
yeah. And I really do mean that. When I told Aisha that I was running for clerk, she was 100%. At least I thought so. 100% on board. But anything that you need, Mahasin, if I can be of assistance, or Mahasin, me being young and new to this, she's saying, Mahasin, why don't you go to this event? Why don't you go to that event? Or I want to introduce you to such and such. So she's going to take care of her staff. I do know that because the state's attorneys, she's high when she gets in the state's attorney's office. She has the actual assistant state's attorneys who are prosecuting all these cases. They need to feel that they can rely on Aisha in order to get the resources that they need in order to successfully prosecute these cases and maintain the order in our county. And Aisha's the one to do that.
All right.
Thank you, Mahasin.
Was that a $50 bill she just
No,
gave
no,
you?
no.
Oh, it was all right. No,
It was $100. Just playing.
Well, Mahasin is a really amazing, smart, diligent young woman. And not only that, she loves being at the courthouse. I mean, she will likely, I told people this, she will be there 24/7. She will sleep there if she could. No, but the point is, she will work to make sure that the courthouse works for the residents. There are some inefficiencies, and she knows it, in the clerk's office. And not to say anything negative about the current clerk, actually, who has done a phenomenal job.
Ridiculously great. Thank you so much.
From where that office came to where it is now. But we do need someone to lead it into the future.
Exactly.
And as she mentioned, we're going to have the electronic
Yes.
filing.
Yes,
So we
we're
need
gonna get
a
it there.
strong leader who has the respect of the legal community, who understands people, who's thoughtful, who's caring, and that, and Mahasin has all of those characteristics. And I've seen her be a leader. She was the president of the J. Franklin Board Bar Association, and I think I started becoming active again because of her, because she was like, "Are you coming to this?"
Yes, she's coming. I'll rope you in. Don't worry.
So I think she's just great, and I'm really excited about her running.
All right. Well, I guess you do like each other.
She's all right, but she still is like a little sister. I'm just joking. No, she's great. She's great.
So we go back to thinking about the Me Too movement. You talk to some people, they're like, okay, all of a sudden, all of these women are coming out of the crates, and they have these stories and stuff like this. And why is this time right now? What is your opinion about the Me Too movement, and whether it's valid, whether it's needed, and how we just won't be saying there was a movement later on? How do we really bring about change when it comes to that?
You know what? And I'll be very brief about this, but this weekend, I was looking at YouTube, and Anita Hill's picture popped up.
Oh, wow.
And I went back and I listened to her opening statement at the confirmation hearings for Clarence Thomas. And I listened to Clarence Thomas's response to Anita Hill's statement. And I thought to myself, if this were to have taken place today, would we have believed her? When I say we, because I believed her, but would America have believed her? Would her concerns, the issues she raised, the story she told, would people have taken her seriously, and would he be on the bench today? And I think the Me Too movement, in my opinion, started a long time ago and hopefully will continue. We're just focusing on it now, but women have been standing up for themselves for years. And let me say this, because all women have, but specifically black women who have taken a huge brunt of the sexism, the racism, all the isms that are out there in the workplace. And you, I mean, you know.
Absolutely.
So I don't have to, but my point is, this is a movement that has always been right now we have a hashtag, and people are finally believing people who have been telling the truth for years.
It's overdue, huh?
It's overdue.
It's definitely overdue, and I think that this is an opportunity for women to have their voice and to actually articulate their feelings, or of whether it's being uncomfortable or inappropriateness. I mean, you can walk into any office and someone will tell you how good you look, or how good you look in that skirt or that shirt or whatever. But it's also a point for people to, I believe and I might be a little bit out of place here, but not to be really hypersensitive for certain things, because we don't want to always be looked at as a victim. We don't know, people won't know what you're thinking unless you tell them. So it's important for people to have an outlet to voice their discomfort or their dissatisfaction with something before it gets to the point of, oh, such and such has been sexually harassing me for the last 5 years, but they didn't know because I never said anything to them. You have to be able to feel comfortable enough to say, hey, this is not right.
But I think also people know what's appropriate and inappropriate in the workplace.
Right.
I think it's important for all employers to provide training and information to all of their employees so everyone knows what the rules are. But sometimes victims or those who have been, treated unfairly in the workplace, based maybe on their background or their position in that organization, they may not feel that they can say anything. And so while I agree that we should always encourage people, if you feel uncomfortable with something, you better say something. But ultimately, we all know what's appropriate and inappropriate. And so everybody has to be accountable for their actions and what they say to others in the workplace, and not rely on someone standing up for themselves, because some people don't have that voice. Some people have been victims of other types of abuse. When they find that in the workplace, they don't feel like they can say anything. They feel like people don't care.
But you have to put measures in place, or an avenue. I mean, because what one person might find offensive, another person may not find offensive.
Agreed.
And so what I definitely think that more training needs to be had.
I agree with that.
And
we'll be having that training at the courthouse.
Exactly. what is offensive and what's appropriate and what's inappropriate? Because what I might find be okay with in one element, someone else might not feel as comfortable as I do. And so it's just important that it's not like a one size fits all the time.
Exactly. With us, we recently had officer training for the local, and during that time we were talking about sexual harassment and what can we do as union officials to help move that through. But one of the examples talked about how if a person just simply, if the man came to you and asked you to go to the movies on Monday, and asked you to go to the movies on Tuesday, and asked you to go to the movies on Wednesday, and you've said no all 3 times, that somehow that could be viewed as sexual harassment. And then there was other people on the other side of the coin. It's like, no, that's not. Like you're saying, you got to communicate. You got to say that. So with both of you having a history in the background being attorneys, what is the definition of sexual harassment?
It's broad. I can tell you.
It is broad in its nuance, but I can tell you this: most places of business have a code of conduct to help prevent these gray areas from happening. So asking a coworker out for a social setting is probably not necessarily viewed as something that is at least promoted at the workplace. So I think if someone feels offended as a result of someone constantly asking them out, that person has every right to feel offended.
Okay, that's why you don't play when you get paid. I'm sorry. So, Miss Mahasin.
Yes, ma'am.
Our little birdie told me that you have like this healthy eating and exercising and all this stuff, and I mean, tell us tell us all about this stuff. What is it?
Ultra marathons.
Ultra marathon. What it is a
I'm running the
marathon
distance
sounds
for
bad
you.
enough, but an ultra
She's
marathon.
amazing.
Well, I like to eat a lot, and I like to also go to the beach. So if I want to enjoy myself at the beach and in a nice swimsuit, I got to work out, right? So when you run 26.2 miles, you burn probably a day and a half worth of food. And yes, and it gets addictive because I get to see the world. Like I've because of my running, I ran a race in Hawaii. I ran through Disney. I meet people.
Did you
all over the
run
place.
up a volcano too?
No, I ran past one though. And you just meet some incredible people. But honestly, I like to be healthy, and exercise is important. It's my outlet. I was never into like competitive sports or anything like that. I was a theater major. I didn't do that stuff. Yes. So
That explains a lot.
I was a theater major, so I didn't start to get active until after I graduated college, and I always wanted to run the Marine Corps Marathon. That was one of my bucket lists. So once I passed the bar, I signed up for the half marathon. And you're like you're probably running 3 to 5 times a week. And when that was over, I said, oh my gosh, something's missing in my life. I'm not running anymore. And then all of a sudden I started to get a little bigger, and I was like, oh no, I gotta start running again. So I've been running for the last 10 years, and then once I finished my rounds of marathons last year, I said, well, what's next? So then I started doing ultra marathons, because I'm like, okay, I can do 26.2, but let's see what else I can do. So it's always seeking the next thing, and not to mention I have friends who like kind of rope me into this kind of stuff. And I've run all across Maryland. I've seen the sunrise. We have a lot of wonderful trails. I love it. It's great. I can't wait to start back running.
So how far you be running, Aisha?
So I like to bike. I am not a runner, let me just tell you that. But I do love to bike. Mm-hmm. And I'm like a huge proponent of more bike lanes, just because I think it's just like the coolest thing to be able to. I sometimes, I fractured my fibula this year, or last year actually.
Girl, she was in that boot for
I
so
was in
long.
a boot.
Oh,
I was
my
on
goodness
crutches.
gracious.
It was a hot mess. So I missed the whole like bike season, but it's okay. We're coming up to the new bike season. But I love riding my bike to like the grocery store, and I actually have a basket.
Oh.
I sure do.
You don't put your dogs in it?
No, I don't put my dogs in the basket. That would not be safe. But if I need to pick up a few things from the store, and then I'll put my groceries in my basket, and I'll ride home, and I love it.
Oh.
I feel like the lady on Murder, She Wrote. Remember, she would always have her little bike, and she had her basket on bike, and I really wanted to get a bike with a basket, and I sure did.
Well, your girl Tasha is not running, and when she gets on a bike, if she gets on there too long, she gets dizzy. Okay. Now, can I go roller skate? I can do that.
That's something I can't do.
We're gonna go roll bounce.
So look, because time is running down right now, is there anything else that both of you, any other priorities or any other things that you want to share about the office of the community that you want the voters to know about you guys?
Well, I just want to mention one thing, which is I have an upcoming women's reception. We are honoring amazing women in our community as part of Women's History Month. It is March 25th, which is a Sunday, from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Camelot, which is in Upper Marlboro.
How do they get tickets?
They can get tickets by going to... I'll give you the link to get tickets, but they can go to my website, www.aishabraveboy.com. But we'll also provide you with a link so that you can send that out.
So we'll put the link in the comments too. Okay. Anything else you have too that you'd like to share?
Well, I just want to ask everyone to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Amin for Clerk. I do want to say this, that I encourage everyone to be go into the voter booth informed, and not just about our candidacy, about all the candidacies, delegates, delegates, senators, everybody's running. Every position is
Governor,
available. Yes, governors,
county
of course.
executive.
And the primaries, that's what's going to count. So on the make sure you go to the voting booth informed on June 26th.
June 26th and early voting June 14th to June 21st. Remember, 93 hours. You got 93 hours to get your vote in. Absolutely. So, let's see. Hi. 93 hours to get in. This is when it comes down to this time stuff. The clock never matches the end of it. Is there anything else that you want to say? I need a time check.
Well, first of all, you're amazing.
Yes, thank you very much for
Tasha.
having us.
This is a great show. Oh, and also shop at the G Shop.
Oh yeah, the G Shop. Oh my God!
Shout out to Giovanna. Oh yes.
This is my Black Panther inspired necklace. Giovanna hooked me up.
Yes.
G Shop Fashions in Gambrills, and she said she may even be coming on the show. So stay
she is
tuned,
good.
okay? Stay
Yes.
tuned.
You
Yes.
gotta take the show to her.
I could do that too. I could record her too. But she gave her Instagram. You want to give out her Instagram and social media? How do they follow you?
Just Aisha Brave. Everything's Aisha Brave.
Yes.
Aisha Braveboy on Twitter. I think it's Aisha Braveboy Esquire on Instagram, and Aisha Braveboy 2018 on Facebook.
And what you got on Snapchat?
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. You're too fancy.
Girl, you got Twitter. Sweet.
I'm also on WhatsApp. The WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Okay,
WhatsApp.
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 All right, ladies. Well, I truly do appreciate you guys coming on
Thank
here.
you very much for having us.
Look forward to seeing some more of you guys. I know you're gonna be start door knocking soon.
Yes, we're going to be door knocking.
We've been door knocking, waving, and all of those wonderful things.
Okay,
So
the
we
main
look forward to
thing-
seeing everyone on the campaign
Exactly.
trail.
All righty now. So we
still have a little bit more time.
Apparently,
the light is still green.
Apparently we
you
have
know
some
your
time.
girl Tasha is
So
getting
you
used to
should
this.
have some music,
next
Tasha.
week?
We could be dancing.
I've been in Facebook jail. Facebook jail all the time. They put me in Facebook jail all the time. I can't even be bothered with it. No, not at all. See, let me try to think. This is the last Friday of the month.
Yeah, last Friday.
I mean, the last Monday of the month.
Last Monday of
The last Monday of the month. So then that means, guys, that come next week, your girl Tasha has decided she's going to wing it. And actually, I'm going to do a review of my first 4 weeks. I'm not talking about my guests or whatever, just about the whole experience. Because like I told a lot of people that there was a, they're saying, thanks, ladies. The G-Spot is the bomb.com.
That's right.
Thank you, ladies, for being here. Just the fact that I stepped out and did this when I was uncomfortable, and what, you know, when you're uncomfortable, there's a reason for it. You're going to feel something. So I'm going to be talking about that next week. Okay. So anyway, we thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share and invite people. Catch the replay. Look for the link to Aisha's event in the pages, and we will see you next Monday, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Hanging with Your Girl Tasha.
Yay. Thank you.
Now see the cinnamon twist. It's a sexy lady who walks around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist.